happens next? Winemaking, part 1. This is a 3-part series, and we're going to be dealing with this fermenter so we can see what happens to wine when it's fermenting. I'm Mark Stanley, author of Creating World-Class Red Wine. First of all, I love fermentation. I get really jazzed up when I get to ferment. There's so much going on in a fermenter, all the chemistry and bubbling and wonderful smells. So this fermenter we have 1,600 pounds of Pinot Noir in this fermenter, and we didn't crush them, we just destemmed them. So what we've got going here is a whole berry fermentation, which is appropriate for Pinot Noir. If this was Cabernet Sauvignon, I'd want to see these berries be popped. Each berry, I'd want to see it be popped just a little bit. I would never want to overcrush. It brings out all the harsh seed tannins and brutalizes the skins of the grape to where you get a lot of harsh phenolics. You know, I shall fear no tannins, and yet I'm wise about it. Pinot Noir has a lot of tannins in the skins, but we want to extract them very gently. If you overcrush Pinot Noir, you can end up with a wine that's harsh and tannic, and no one wants to drink it. And I've done that years ago. So if you have one of those crushers, those Italian crushers that either have a hand crank or there's a motor on it, the hard plastic rollers that are non-adjustable, the cluster goes through the rollers first and then it's destemmed. And it just shreds the grapes. It makes a real mess out of them. And you might be a pretty good winemaker, but if your finished wines are kind of a little hard edge when they're done, you can't get rid of it. You can't change if you overcrush. It'll always be there. You can't fix it. And for home winemakers, destem by hand. It takes time, but your wine will be better. And if you think, sometimes you end up with a whole berry if you destem by hand. If you think you need to crush more, then stop. Go ahead. I know you're laughing. Go ahead, laugh. You're laughing at 10,000 years of winemakers. The foot action is actually a soft action that they designed the rubber rollers system based on the foot action. So here today, we're just going to press down. These grapes are at 60 degrees Fahrenheit, 16 degrees Celsius. We got almost 23 bricks. That's about 23% sugar on these grapes, and they're at 3.38 pH. So we're in a cold soak right now, and I'm going to press down. That's all I'm going to do. I just need to wet the cap. I want to make sure the cap stays wet so that there's no place for the bacteria to find purchase. Technically, cold soak is called pre-fermentation maceration. The grapes are soaking in their own juice, so it's a water extraction of the phenolic compounds in the skins. And the macerationist part means that the grapes are macerating, they're falling apart very gently with the water extraction. So we're pulling out a lot of blue color from anthocyanins in the last 3 or 4 epidermal layers of the skin of the grape when we do a water extraction. Later, once the must begins to ferment and we have alcohol in here, the alcohol will pull out a whole different set of phenolics, and we'll get more red color from the alcohol extraction. It's all about gentleness, especially with Pinot. But I'd be doing the same thing with Merlot or Syrah, Tempranillo, Cabernet Sauvignon. You'd just be pressing down. So when I'm done, it's not too hard here. I'll just tamp it down. I'll just do it the way I show you here. But I tamp it down so that the surface is hard and there's less surface area for the grapes to be exposed to the oxygen and the bacteria that's in the air. Now this simple technique is one used by almost every quality winery in the world, wineries that make wine over, say, $50 a bottle or so. What happens next? Part 2. We're going to be pressing down again, but the wine will change. So please come back for part 2. What happens next? Winemaking, press down and punch down.